Hello, Battletech fans. Welcome back to another Battletech Heavy Metal update. This will be update number 2. Just to go over last night's stream from HBS. So, lots of good and bad things to talk about. One of those good things I would like to mention right off the bat that I'm excited for is that we get actually play with some of the heavy metal mechs in the starter lance. So that's really good. They didn't really say the specifics with it, if there's tonnage limitations or anything like that, but they said how that mechanic works is when you start your new career mode, you go into the mech bay, and Yang will present a dialogue box for you saying, hey, I found these, laying around over here, would you want to work with these? And it will say permit Battletech Heavy Metal logo attached to that dialogue box. So that way you guys know that that's what is being available for you guys. Okay? So, yes, so we get to play with the starting mechs. We get to play with the Heavy Metal DLC mechs in the starting land. So that's really, really cool. Excellent. Again, I don't know which ones. Obviously, it's not the Bull Shark. They also commented that the Bull Shark will be not available outside of a flashpoint. So that's the only way you can obtain the Bull Shark is through a flashpoint, allegedly. Again, that's what they said. So you're not going to find it out outside of a flashpoint. But before we go on any further, I would like to know from the people who actually play mods, specifically Rogue Tech, what you guys think about the Heavy Metal DLC. Leave in the comments below what you guys feel and think about this release, since you guys already have most of this stuff, if not more stuff. Let me know what your thoughts and feelings are with the Heavy Metal DLC. I really do appreciate that. So moving on. So there's a lot of good and bad with the discussion that had happened last night. And we'll get into that for sure. So there's going to be new maps. Okay, so they didn't say biomes, they said new maps. So one's going to be another valley map, and then the other one is going to be a Rolling Hills Rocky map. So that's what's going to be added in through the 1.8 patch. So that's really cool. Also, there's going to be 2 new mech variants. Those 2 new mech variants are for the Locust and for the Spider, probably because they didn't have 8 slots available in the other variants for the coil weapons. So that's probably the only reason why that they're adding them in there. But I just figured to let you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it for most of the features. But they did add another feature. I think we talked about this, to the star map. So in the star map, you can actually, instead of like also checking for biomes, you can actually check for certain keywords. So these keywords, say for example chemicals, you know how they're listed on the side of the planet descriptions, like if it's rich or manufacturing, that sort of thing. So they went over what chemicals meant, and chemicals mean that you can find LRMs and SRM weapons in on those systems. Okay, so it's a really cool way to kind of find what we need in a sense. So it's really cool. Again, great quality of life update to the game. So very cool. So the other thing is, we want to get into the core of the game that they're going to be releasing out. The other core is the weapons. So there's going to be obviously the LBX weapons, and the LBX weapons are pretty much going to be shotguns. Okay. And they pretty much have a spread shot. The lesser the weapon, the more spread. So AC2 has, not the AC2, the LBX2 has 12 shots versus the LBX20, which has, I think, 6 or 8 shots, projectiles shot out. So it's good for straight shot, right? It's a good idea for straight shot, and if you have a mech that's open, good for critical hits and stuff like that. So the LBX is going to be definitely used in that regard. They did, however, there was a user who commented and said, well, why isn't there ammo types like a slug with the LBX? And this is where they started to kind of fall away. And they started to kind of really not answer very well, or their answers weren't great. So the answer to that was, well, we want to keep the behaviors unique. So, we don't want to make it another like AC5 or another autocannon. I go, well, that's fine, but that's not to the tabletop, right? You can switch your rounds in the tabletop. But the lead designer was very adamant. He said, nope, we're not doing that. We're keeping the behaviors the way they are because it brings that, it keeps the mechanics right in the game. To me, that sounded like an excuse it was lazy, like to not implement the slug round, because who cares if it shoots like an AC5? It might do less damage than an AC5, but it might shoot like a slug round, but maybe you can only shoot like 2 slug rounds. You could do different things with it. Like don't just throw it away because it's against your design. That there may be more than one weapon to that it acts like a similar weapon. I'm like, well, what about the ultra autocannons? They're pretty much the same weapon except they fire twice, right? So going into ultra autocannons, so they're pretty much, so like, let's just take a look at an ultra autocannon 5 does 45 damage, right? It does 45 damage twice, so because it shoots twice, right? So the only penalty that this weapon gets has massive recoil. Is what they said. It's a massive recoil, but the same thing has been like, so. But the only difference is it fired twice, so why can't we have slug rounds for the LBX? Right? Why can't we have that? More, again, options. Give players options. It's like, I want to say give players options, damn it. Like, the more options you give us, the better. And, like, look at all the features, like the camera angles and everything else. Like, the more options you get, the happier people get. Right? It's, like, cool stuff. I just don't get it. I don't get why not. Like I don't get the why not at all. I don't get their answer. But that is pretty much the ultra autocannons in a nutshell. It's pretty much they fire twice and they have massive recoil. They have the same damage as the other autocannons, but obviously they fire twice and they gain massive recoil. Yay, But here's the thing, I did see a gameplay, they did play a little bit at the end of their stream, and it looked like the ultra autocannons are going to be pretty powerful, so good news, I guess. And then the Infernos. So the Infernos is pretty much a weapon on its own, and it has its own ammo in the weapon. So it has only 8 shots, and it fires 2 missiles per shot. So it does 16, it fires 16 total missiles, right? So I don't know if it's every single missile applies this gel that adds heat damage over time. So from what I've seen in the prior gameplay videos, it adds like +5 heat damage per hit, I guess. I'm not 100% sure, because the mech that they fired at had an insane amount of evasion, and I don't know how many missiles hit it, but it looked like if it only hits, like, it doesn't matter how many times it hits it, it's still going to do that certain amount of heat damage. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not super excited about the Infernos weapon. I'm not. It's one of the weapons that I just will pass by and probably sell. I'll try it out, but I'm probably not going to be happy with it. And then moving on into the Narc Beacon. So this is where they start falling into problems. So the Narc Beacon is, we know how it functions, right? Like we fire a Narc, it attracts missiles to that target with the Narc Beacon attached to it, right? Makes sense. So I would think, maybe increase accuracy, right, with missiles, right? Makes sense. No, you're gonna do more damage with missiles. So you're gonna be doing an extra 25% damage with missiles because of that Narc Beacon. What? What? Okay. All right. Good for you. More overpowered weapons for the player, I guess. Sure. Excellent. More on that in a little bit. But yeah, that's what the Narc Beacon will do. I'm not too thrilled about that. And then the tag. So the tag kind of does the same thing. It obviously if you apply the tag to a mech, that mech will now receive 10% extra damage from energy and ballistic weapons. What? Why not accuracy? What happened with that? And nothing was explained. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Because to me, it would make sense if you have ballistics, gain more accuracy with the tag, or energy weapons gain more accuracy with the tag, and with a Narc Beacon you gain more accuracy with. It just blows me away. It blows me away how simple this little thing is, and now you want to give the player so much more control and power. It's almost going to be easy mode, even on hard mode. Oh, and by the way, before we go into the coil weapons, none of these new weapons are available to the AI. Because of the lore. Because of the lore, that's their reasoning, is that none of the AI will have any of these new weapons. What? What? Okay. I'm not a big fan of that. And the big reason is I like a challenge. And I'm sorry, if I have it, the enemy should have it. And don't tell me that, oh, well, you have mod support now, go find a mod. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that excuse. I'm tired of it. And that's one of the things that I have a big a big problem with, is being told, oh yeah, well, you have to go and go find a mod. I'm sure someone will mod it out. No, why not add that feature to the game? And even following the lore, okay, that's fine if you want to do that. But the problem is, and this is outside of the flashpoints. Inside the flashpoints, they will have these weapons, okay? That's fine. Because of the lore, that's fine. I don't disagree with that. But why not give AI the ability to have lost tech weapons? It'd be rare, it'd be random, but you could select it in your difficulty box. Something, right? Something. I just feel like when the AI doesn't have these weapons and you have these weapons, it just seems like you're giving the player so many more OP options that you're just going to overwhelm the enemy, even if you're outnumbered. And that's what brings me into this discussion, which is the lance compositions. Okay, and not the lance compositions, but the amount of lances that you have, and that was the big discussion that was going around the forums for a while. It's like, why can't we have another lance? Why can't we have another lance? Right? Because that would make light mechs viable. That was the discussion, and HBS took that and said, you know what, we'll make light mechs viable doing it this way, but we're not going to give you that extra lance. What? What? Why not? Here's my idea, okay? Maybe you guys like my idea. But Darius is another commander on board the Argo, right? Maybe he can control the other lance and have it be AI controlled. You don't have to control it, the AI will control it. Because sometimes in certain missions, AI does control allied mechs, right? And there's drop pods. So let's say you need reinforcements because you are outnumbered, and you say, all right, I need a drop pod now. And it costs you 400,000 C-bills to send those drop pods, right? Okay, that's fine. That balances it out. But when you basically say we're gonna give more power to the player, right? We're gonna give you guys all the power to do whatever you want to do, because we are avoiding the lance issue. Well, guess what, guys? You're gonna go into Battletech 2, right? You guys are gonna go into Battletech 2, and I'll go into this discussion later on next week. And you're going to have clan invasion. We all know it's coming, right? We all know it is. Clan invasion is going to be here, right? Clan invasion is going to happen. And guess what land sizes are in clans? 5 mechs, right? You couldn't give us an additional mech for support or from a drop pod or anything. To me, it's an excuse. And even Roguetech has tried. This is why I want to ask you guys, the Roguetech players, what you guys think about this Heavy Metal DLC. Because to me, it's very lackluster. And I was waiting for the bomb to be dropped. And it's like, oh, by the way, you get an extra lance. Or whatever. Nothing. I was waiting for the bomb to drop, and it's not there. And even Roguetech, even their modder said, you know what, guys, if we add this feature in for you guys, it might draw out the gameplay. Okay, let's try it out. They try it out. There's some things they have to tweak in there. They make it right. They're probably still working on it. But guess what? The players have the option to choose whether to drop a full lance or just the 4 mechs and a lance. Options, guys, options. Like HPS, I think that's where you drop the ball. That's where I'm disappointed in you guys, is options. You guys got to give us options in that sense. And I understand that you're trying to give like the coil weapons and all this viability and light mechs viability, but you're avoiding the problem. You're avoiding what the community wanted. And again, I'm not hating on HPS, but I really like and enjoy their game. I like talking about Battletech. I think they brought out a lot of good in the community. There's no doubt there, but I just feel like they dropped the ball on that. They really have. Let's finish this off and let's talk about the coil weapons and the others. So the coil weapons, how they work is basically they have a set damage. So let's take the large coil weapon. So the large coil weapon will take up 8 slots, so pretty much the entire arm. So that's why, or entire space. That's why they put out new variants for the Locust and the Spider. And again, not to go off on another tangent again, but like, if you can easily put out new variants, why not put out more variants of, because it fits your narrative, I guess, for you guys, because you want to like give light mechs viability in the late game. We'll see about that. I mean, their light mechs are still viable in the late game. It's just how you play it. I've seen someone play, all the way through the late game and get fight assault mechs with light mechs. It's called double turn. They use that mechanic. It's, there is viability to that. I think they're just giving it to players who just don't know that mechanic or aren't good enough. And I'm just like, that's just not right in my opinion. Light mechs are viable in the late game. It's just, you just don't choose them because, people just want to fight mechs. They don't want to like think about the double turns and take longer, right? They don't want to draw out the game longer. It's like an extra like 30 minutes to play with light mechs in the late game. It takes forever. So, yeah, so the coil weapon has pretty much, it takes up 8 slots. I think it weighs like 4 tons. And it has 35 damage on it. And it times it by the amount of evasion you gain. So let's say if it gains 4 evasion, that's 140 damage. Right? So that's how that weapon is going to work. And the large coil weapon has 70 heat every time it's fired. So that's basically how they're going to balance it out, is because it gains so much heat that, obviously you're probably not going to use it very much. And it's only going to be used by players who actually understand the game, per their words. I don't agree with that at all, because I think it's an easy mechanic to learn, and all you have to do is like you move a certain amount, and that times that damage by the amount of evasion pips you have. I think that's a pretty easy concept to learn for most players. So I don't get why that comment. But again, coil weapons obviously are going to be devastating weapons. But they do take up a lot of slots though. So you may not want to put it on a heavy mech, but I feel like most people are going to be trying that out versus a light mech. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure a lot of players are going to abuse the hell out of it, but it is what it is. Another OP weapon, that the AI doesn't have, but you have. Sure, cool. Only outside of flashpoints, right? The majority of the game. Sorry, not sorry, but excuse me. That's how this is going. So we talked about the NARF, we talked about the tag, and we talked about the coil weapons. So again, seeing how the coil weapon works on the assassin that they showed in their gameplay footage. If you don't remember, the assassin has a quirk that ignores 3 evasion, and they were fighting against a locust, and the assassin moved enough to where it had 4 evasion with a large coil weapon, and it did 140 damage to a locust. Yeah, it blew up the locust like immediately. Like, I know like the locust was in shambles, like so it had like extremely like the less amount of armor on the mech, but even so, like that, it should not have that kind of effect. Like it seems really powerful. It didn't look like it gained a lot of heat either. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the coil weapons. Not being available to the enemy AI, or any of these weapons not being available to the enemy AI, even if it's rare, even if it's extremely rare. I'd rather have extremely rare than nothing. That's my biggest complaint with this DLC right now. All right, so moving on to the mortar weapon. So they did release some good news with the mortar weapon. So the good news with the mortar weapon is that just like the thumper cannon, you know how it did damage to all parts of the mech and even the head? Well, they removed the head portion of it. So no more headshots with the mortar or thumper cannon. So that is a big plus, and thank you HBS for doing that, because that was going to be overpowered to the nth degree, and abused to the nth degree. So yeah, they actually they were like, yeah, we can't do that. Don't do that. They changed it. So with the mortar, it has 1 shot. Okay, so it has 1 shot. That's it, and it does devastating damage, and it has short range and less area of effect versus the thumper cannon. So the thumper cannon does more an area effect and goes a little bit has a better range on it, I think. It damages all parts of the mech. Okay, so it damages all parts of the mech. So even the rear part of the mech, it will damage. So remember, so again, you don't get this, the enemy does. You get this, but the enemy doesn't outside of the outside of the flashpoint. So only in the flashpoint mini campaign will you ever see any of this be used against you. All right. So the thumper cannon fires twice. Same kind of idea. Does an area effect damage, devastating. Only and it has a cooldown turn. And that one has a cooldown because it fires 2 shots of 2 turns. Okay, so that's how the thumper cannon works. And yeah, I think that covers all the weapons that they've discussed. I just want to just doing this via memory here. I think that was it. So yeah, very interesting updates. Some good, some bad. But I feel like this was a very touchy one. And not the enemy not having, and I understand the lore behind it. I get it, but you should still make it rare, and even make the enemies now potentially have lost tech weapons toward the middle of the late game based on your MRB rating or whatever. There's so many things they could have done to make the game better and more challenging for players like myself. Again, I like to play on the hardest difficulty, and I like a challenge. I think they take the challenge out of the game. I don't like that. I don't like that very much. So hopefully, maybe later on they'll add some more difficulty options, I hope. But with that being said, that's going to be my Battletech update number 2. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the Heavy Metal DLC in this latest update. And again, for all you players who play Rogue Tech, let me know what you guys think about Battletech Heavy Metal. I want to know, because I want to know what you guys think. I want to make a video on that as well, because I want to get your guys' perspective on everything. Because I'm pretty much strictly vanilla player. Eventually, I'll probably play Rogue Tech, but right now I've been strict vanilla. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.